Welcome to the Omnidental Podcast.
It is so great to be here for this one.
So I want to start us off today with a bit of a riddle.
I love a riddle. Lay it on me.
Okay, so I was looking over the notes for this deep dive.
Yeah.
And I came across this material. Technically speaking, it is harder than steel on the Mohs scale.
Okay.
It is actually the hardest substance in the entire human body. Yet, this is the wild part to me, it can be completely destroyed by, like, a single sip of soda.
I know exactly where you're going with this. You were talking about tooth enamel.
Exactly. Enamel. It's this biological armor that we all walk around with.
Yeah.
But reading through the research for today, specifically the materials from Omnidental and MedSpa in Arlington Heights, I realized I have absolutely been taking this armor for granted.
Oh, most of us do, honestly.
Right, because I always just thought of teeth as, well, bones that you brush. But they aren't bones, are they?
No, they're not bones at all. And, that distinction really changes everything about how you have to care for them. Well, bones are alive. If you break your arm, your body immediately sends in cells to knit the bone back together. It heals. Enamel is entirely different. It is highly mineralized. We're talking about 96% mineral, but it is not alive.
This was the first thing in the notes that really stopped me in my tracks. It mentioned these cells that create the enamel, ameloblasts. Am I saying that right?
You got it. Ameloblasts.
Right. So these ameloblasts, they build your enamel while the tooth is still hidden inside your gum.
Exactly.
But the very second that tooth erupts and pops through the gum line, those builder cells they die off. They're gone.
Or completely gone. It's a one-time construction project. Once the builders finish the job, they pack up and leave the site forever.
Wow.
Which means if you chip a tooth or if acid eats a tiny hole in it, your body biologically cannot grow that enamel back. You simply don't have the cellular machinery to do it anymore.
That puts a massive amount of pressure on preservation. I mean, if we can't grow it back, we have to protect what we've got. And that is really the core of what we are diving into today. We're looking at this fascinating report on foods to help strengthen enamel.
Yeah.
But we're also exploring the broader philosophy of Omnidental.
Yeah.
Because their whole approach seems to be that oral health isn't just about, drilling holes and filling them. It's about chemistry. It's systemic health.
That is the mission today. We really want to move beyond that basic kindergarten advice of just brush and floss. We need to understand the actual chemical warfare happening in your mouth every single day.
Chemical warfare.
It is. And more importantly, how you can actually win that war using nothing but your grocery list.
Chemical warfare sounds a little dramatic, but looking at the actual mechanism of what they call demineralization, it feels pretty accurate.
It's a battle of pH levels, really.
Yeah, that's what I was reading. It all comes down to acidity.
Think of your enamel as a fortress wall made of microscopic bricks. And in this case, the bricks are crystals called hydroxyapatite. It's this beautiful, tight crystal lattice made of calcium and phosphate. Incredibly strong. But it has one fatal weakness, and that is acid.
And this is where the war starts. The sources explained that when the pH in your mouth drops below a very specific number, I think it was 5.5.
5.5 is the tipping point.
Right. So when it hits that threshold.
When the environment gets that acidic, the chemical bonds holding those calcium and phosphate bricks together literally start to dissolve. The minerals just leach right out of your teeth and float away into your saliva.
And that's demineralization.
That's it. The wall starts to crumble.
So essentially, every single time we eat or drink something acidic, we are potentially launching an attack on our own fortress.
Yes.
But the body has a counterattack, right? We aren't just sitting there defenseless.
Far from it. We have a highly sophisticated defense system. It's just something we tend to think is kind of gross, so we take it for granted. Saliva.
Right. I used to think saliva was literally just water to help me swallow dry food.
Most people do.
But looking at the chemical breakdown in the report, it is basically a superhero serum.
It really is a marvel. Saliva is supersaturated with calcium and phosphate ions. So after you finish eating and the acid attack finally stops, your saliva washes over the teeth.
Okay.
And because it is absolutely loaded with those exact same minerals you just lost, it can push them back into the enamel surface. It's like a mason coming in and regrouting the damaged bricks.
Remineralization.
Exactly.
So it's a constant tug of war. You eat, the acid strips the minerals out. You wait, the saliva puts them back in.
Yep.
But the real problem, according to the Omnidental materials, is when the mason runs out of bricks.
That is exactly where things go wrong. Your saliva can only do its job if it actually has the raw materials on hand.
Right.
If your diet is poor, your saliva won't have the high concentration of calcium and phosphate needed to repair the daily damage. You can have plenty of spit, but if it's chemically empty, it's not fixing the wall.
Which brings us to the nutritional toolkit. What do we actually need to put in our bodies to make sure our saliva is fully stocked and ready for battle?
Now we get to the good stuff.
The first category on their list is probably the most obvious one, but the science behind the why is super interesting. Dairy.
Milk, cheese, yogurt. We've all heard since childhood that they have calcium. But there is another major player hidden in dairy called casein.
Casein. I've actually seen that word on those big tubs of protein powder.
It's the exact same stuff. It's a milk protein. And in the mouth, casein does something amazing. It helps stabilize the calcium and phosphate.
Oh, interesting.
It acts almost like a biological glue that helps those minerals stick firmly to the tooth surface so the repair process can actually happen efficiently. Plus, dairy is naturally neutral on the pH scale, so it doesn't trigger an acid attack.
There was this one specific tip in the source material about cheese that I loved. It suggested that eating a piece of cheese at the very end of a meal is basically a cheat code for your teeth.
It is a fantastic hack. Say you have a meal with some hidden acidity, maybe a salad with a heavy vinaigrette or some fruit. If you finish that meal with a simple cube of cheese, two things happen.
Okay.
First, the physical act of chewing the dense cheese stimulates a rush of saliva.
More superhero serum.
Right. And second, the cheese itself immediately neutralizes the acid in your mouth and coats your teeth in this protective layer of oil and calcium. You effectively shut down the acid attack on the spot.
See, the French had it right all along. The cheese course at the end of the meal, they knew exactly what they were doing.
They really did.
Now, moving away from dairy, let's talk about the vegetable aisle. The report highlights leafy greens. We're talking spinach, kale, Swiss chard.
Great choices.
Now, obviously, they contain calcium, but reading through it, I felt like the bigger benefit here was actually mechanical.
You hit the nail on the head. Yes, spinach has calcium. But think about the physical experience of eating a raw kale salad.
It's a workout.
You cannot just swallow it. You have to chew it and chew it.
You chew it forever.
And that intense mechanical action is crucial for your enamel. Your mouth has glands, specifically the parotid glands in your cheeks, that are heavily stimulated by the intense chewing of tough fiber.
Okay.
They start pumping out a massive volume of saliva. So the entire time you are chewing that kale, you are essentially power washing your teeth with your own mineral-rich saliva. You're scrubbing away bacteria and neutralizing acids simultaneously.
It's literally nature's toothbrush, which actually leads right into another category the report specifically calls nature's toothbrush.
Crunchy fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, apples, carrots, celery.
It's the exact same principle. It's all about the physical scrub. Look, if you are at work and you can't go brush your teeth after lunch, eating a crisp apple is a really decent backup plan.
Good to know.
The rough, fibrous texture physically disturbs the sticky plaque biofilm on your teeth. It's not a total replacement for brushing, but it absolutely helps keep the acid producers in check.
Okay, I want to pivot to something now that I think is arguably the most important dot-connecting moment in this entire deep dive.
Let's hear it.
We've been talking nonstop about calcium brinks, but the omnidental materials point out a harsh reality. You can eat all the calcium in the world, and it might not matter at all if you are missing one specific key ingredient, vitamin D.
And this is exactly where we move from mere tooth mechanics into full systemic health. Because you don't absorb calcium in your mouth. Calcium absorption happens down in your gut.
Right.
But your gut absolutely cannot absorb dietary calcium efficiently without vitamin D. Vitamin D acts as the biological key that unlocks the door, allowing calcium to cross from your intestines into your bloodstream.
So if you are vitamin D deficient, which, let's be real, a huge percentage of us are, especially in the winter, you could literally be starving your enamel while drinking a gallon of milk.
Absolutely. You can have the most calcium-rich diet on the planet, but if your vitamin D levels are in the basement, that calcium just passes right through your digestive tract. It never makes it into your bloodstream, which means it never makes it into your saliva.
That is wild.
It really highlights why the report specifically recommends fatty fish. Salmon, tuna, sardines.
Not your typical dental foods.
No, but they are some of the only naturally occurring robust food sources of vitamin D.
This connects so perfectly to what Omnidental talks about regarding their whole-body approach. The mouth isn't some isolated island. If your systemic nutrition is failing, your teeth are going to suffer.
And it works in reverse, too. If your teeth are suddenly suffering from rapid demineralization, it's very often a red flag that something systemic is out of balance.
Before we completely leave the food list, I have to ask you about beverages, specifically tea, green and black tea.
Ah, yes.
I have always associated tea with staining my teeth brown, so I was genuinely shocked to see it on the good guy list.
It is a bit of a double-edged sword cosmetically, but structurally it is mostly good. Teas contain high levels of polyphenols.
Okay.
These are plant compounds that actively suppress the growth of bacteria in your mouth, specifically a strain called Streptococcus mutans, which is the primary bad guy responsible for causing cavities.
So the tea essentially poisons the enemy army.
Exactly. It inhibits their ability to clump together and produce acid. But, and this is a massive, massive caveat, this chemical benefit only works if you drink the tea unsweetened.
Right. Because if you dump honey or a sugar packet in there,
you are handing the bacteria the exact high-octane fuel they need to destroy your teeth. You completely negate the polyphenol benefit. It has to be plain tea.
Okay, so that is our defensive toolkit. Dairy for casein, fibrous greens for the scrub, fatty fish for the vitamin D key, and unsweetened tea to suppress the bacteria.
Solid lineup.
But we have to talk about the villains. The report lists the usual suspects we all know.
Yeah.
Soda, candy, energy drinks, processed snacks. But I want to dig a little deeper into the actual why. It isn't just sugar is bad, right?
Right. Sugar itself doesn't eat your teeth. It is a two-step biological process. The bacteria living in your mouth, that sticky biofilm, they survive by eating simple sugars. When you drink a soda, you are throwing them an absolute feast.
That's good.
And their natural metabolic waste product, what they excrete after digesting that sugar, is acid.
So it's literally bug poop.
To put it as bluntly as possible, yes. It is highly acidic bacterial waste. That waste sits directly on your enamel and instantly drops your oral pH well below that critical 5.5 level we talked about.
Gross.
But there is a huge behavioral nuance here that most people completely miss. It is not just about what you drink. It is entirely about how you drink it.
The frequency issue.
Yes. Let's say you have a can of sugary soda. If you open it and chug the whole thing in 5 minutes, your mouth becomes highly acidic for about 20 to 30 minutes before your saliva finally buffers it back to a safe, neutral pH.
Okay, so that's one single attack.
One attack. The enamel softens, the saliva recovers it. But if you crack open that same single can of soda, sit at your desk, and take a tiny sip every 10 minutes for 3 hours.
Oh, I see.
Every single time you take a sip, you reset that 30-minute acid clock. You are keeping your mouth in a permanent, unbroken state of demineralization for hours on end.
Your saliva never even gets a chance to start the repair work.
Never. That sipping habit is absolutely devastating for enamel. It's much worse than just drinking it all at once.
That is such a huge insight. If you are going to indulge in something sugary, just drink it and be done with it. Do not nurse it.
Exactly. The old dental saying is dilution is the solution to pollution. Drink it fast, then immediately rinse your mouth out with water.
Speaking of acid, the report mentions a big proceed with caution warning for some really healthy things too. Citrus fruits, oranges, grapefruits, lemons. I felt a little betrayed reading that. These are supposed to be the ultimate health foods.
And they are wonderful for your immune system, but chemically speaking, citric acid is incredibly harsh on teeth. It softens the outer layer of your enamel almost instantly on contact.
And this leads right into the most counterintuitive tip in the entire report. I fully admit I have been doing this completely wrong my entire adult life. The 30-minute rule.
It is the most common mistake healthy people make. Let's say you eat a healthy breakfast. You have half a grapefruit, some orange juice, maybe some toast.
Sounds great.
Your enamel is now very soft from the heavy citric acid exposure. Then, trying to be a diligent, good patient, you immediately run to the bathroom and brush your teeth.
Which feels like exactly what you're supposed to do. Get the sugar off.
It feels right, but structurally it is a disaster. Because the enamel is currently in that soft, demineralized state, the nylon bristles of your toothbrush essentially act like sandpaper.
Oh, no.
You are physically scrubbing away microscopic layers of your own softened enamel. You are doing significantly more permanent damage than the breakfast itself would have done.
That is genuinely terrifying. So what is the actual protocol there?
You simply have to wait. You need to give your saliva about 30 minutes to naturally neutralize the acid and reharden the enamel surface.
Just wait 30 minutes.
Yes. If you feel like your mouth is dirty and you absolutely can't wait, rinse vigorously with plain water to wash the acid away. But under no circumstances should you take a brush to soft enamel.
Rinse, wait 30, then brush. That is officially my new morning mantra.
It will save your teeth.
Okay, so we have the chemistry down, we have the grocery list, we have the timing habits. But reading through all this, there obviously comes a point where DIY home care hits a wall.
It always does. You simply cannot remove tartar, which is a plaque that has completely calcified and hardened, with a toothbrush at home. And you certainly can't spot microscopic cavities forming between the teeth where the bristles don't reach.
And that is exactly where the professional comes in.
Exactly.
Which brings us back to the source of all this incredible knowledge today. Omni Dental and MedSpa. They are located right at 305 East Rand Road in Arlington Heights, Illinois.
Yeah.
And looking deeply at their practice profile, the way they have structured this clinic is really unique. It is not just your standard drill and fill dentist's office.
Not at all. The med spa portion of the name is very intentional. The practice is run by Dr. Billis Poles, who has over a decade of clinical experience. And what really stands out to me is how seamlessly they have merged high-level clinical dentistry with advanced aesthetics. It feels like a very modern, logical evolution.
Yeah, I'm looking at their full service list right here. On one side, you have your crucial standard dental care. Deep cleanings, fillings, treating dental injuries. They do all the high-tech structural stuff too, like all-on-4 implants and cosmetic Invisalign.
Right, the functional foundation.
But then literally right next to that on the menu, they offer Botox, dermal fillers, microneedling, laser hair removal, body sculpting, and IV drip therapy.
Now, at first glance, a lot of people might scratch their heads and think, why on earth is my dentist offering Botox?
Right, it seems disjointed.
But when you actually think about human anatomy, it makes perfect sense. A highly trained dentist spends their entire medical career intensely studying the maxillofacial structure. They know the exact musculature of the jaw, the intricate nerve pathways of the face, the underlying bone structure.
That makes total sense. If someone is going to be injecting something into my face to change how it looks or functions, I absolutely want the person who has memorized exactly where every single facial nerve ending is located.
Exactly. Who is better equipped to handle delicate facial aesthetics than a clinical expert in the face?
And the IV drip therapy they offer circles perfectly back to what we just discussed about vitamin D and systemic nutrition.
It really does. Omni Dental clearly operates on the fundamental belief that you cannot separate the mouth from the rest of the organism. A healthy smile objectively requires a healthy body.
Right.
If you are severely nutrient deficient, your gum tissue and your enamel are going to show it. So offering targeted IV nutrition isn't some spa gimmick. It is actively supporting the biological foundation of your oral health.
It is a brilliantly holistic view. The materials also mention they have a very patient-first mentality, specifically noting they treat literally everyone from toddlers getting their first tooth to seniors needing structural implants.
It's a true family practice.
And they serve a surprisingly wide geographic area, too, not just Arlington Heights.
Oh, yeah. They are a major health resource for the entire cluster of Northwest Chicago suburbs.
So if you are living in Buffalo Groves, Palatine, Mount Prospect, Rolling Meadows,
Schaumburg, Wheeling, Des Plaines, Elk Grove Village.
Yeah, if you are anywhere in that whole network of towns, you have immediate access to a practice that can seamlessly handle your standard 6-month cleaning, but then also sit down and talk to you about custom sleep apnea appliances, laser treatments, or facial aesthetics.
It provides a comprehensive dental home in the truest sense of the word.
I also noticed in their profile, they specifically highlight being environmentally conscious.
Which is rare in dentistry, honestly.
Right. They use advanced digital technology to actively reduce material waste in the clinic. It just feels like a very forward-thinking, modern operation.
They're actively bridging a gap that has existed in medicine for too long. We have historically always separated health going to the dentist from beauty going to the spa.
Always.
Omni Dental is stepping up and saying, no, these are fundamentally the same thing. A structurally healthy, fully mineralized mouth is inherently beautiful, and feeling beautiful and confident directly contributes to your overall mental health and well-being.
So let's wrap this deep dive up with some concrete, actionable takeaways for the listener. We covered a ton of heavy science today.
We covered a lot of ground. I think the absolute main takeaway you need to remember is that your enamel is not a static rock sitting in your skull. It is a highly dynamic, ever-changing chemical system.
Right.
You are quite literally either building it up or tearing it down with every single bite of food you take.
So step 1, feed the army.
Yes. Load your diet up with dairy for the calcium and the protective casein. Eat plenty of your leafy fibrous greens and actually chew them well to physically stimulate that crucial saliva flow.
And don't forget the key.
Get your vitamin D from fatty fish so your body can actually absorb those raw minerals from the gut in the first place.
Step 2, watch out for the villains.
Avoid that chronic sipping habit at all costs. Do not bathe your teeth in acidic sugar water for hours on end. Dilution is the solution.
And respect the 30-minute rule.
Please respect the rule. Let your biology do its job and reharden your enamel before you go in scrubbing with a nylon brush.
And finally, step 3, get a professional partner.
You just cannot manage this complex system entirely alone. You need a pro to regularly check the microscopic foundation. And if you happen to be in the Arlington Heights area, Dr. Poles and the entire team at Omni Dental are very clearly operating at an elite level, perfectly blending that vital medical precision with a really keen eye for total facial aesthetics.
I just love the idea that we actually have so much more control over all of this than we originally thought. It's not just chalked up to bad genes or bad luck. It's literally just chemistry.
It is entirely chemistry. And the best part is you are the chemist.
I really like that. I am officially going to go eat a large piece of cheese right now.
It is exactly what your enamel needs.
Thanks for joining us for this conversation. We'll see you on the next Deep Dive.